Hey there. Welcome back to another episode of the Build Your Copywriting Business podcast. Hey, Kate.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Today, we're going to do kind of a follow-up on a previous episode. That previous episode, we talked about morning routines, how to get your day started so that you can have the best day possible as often as possible. Today, Kate, what's the flip side of that?
Evening routines.
Woohoo! Evening routines!
Which I think is actually, as I thought about this topic, more important for me. I don't know how you feel. I think morning routine, yes, it's a constant battle to make sure that that makes sense and I can sit down to work and actually get my day started, because without getting the day started, I'd have no career. But the challenge for me, I think, because morning routines get so much of the glitz and the glory, I feel like there's a lot about morning routines and getting going for the day. There's not as much attention paid to the evening routine and shutting down for the day, which for me is quite frankly a bigger problem.
I agree. Yeah, I think morning routines, I'm already a little bit set up, and I think a lot of us are. Many people are morning people. Not everyone, I totally get that, but a decent percentage of the population, I want to say it's a large percentage. But a lot of us are kind of already set up for success because we have that energy, because we're fresher, because hopefully we've gotten a good night's sleep, because we have a little bit of fresh perspective. It's a new day. It's a new, newness all over, very exciting. Whereas at the end of the day, it's, your energy is waning. Exactly. You're just kind of like, bleh. It's no matter, whether you're working a full-time and a part-time job, or whether you're doing any number of things, that end of the day time is like, it's hard enough to have enough energy to just finish, send those last couple emails, or finish up that copy doc that you're working on, or whatever, send out that invoice or follow up on that invoice. And I think what ends up happening for a lot of people is that instead of saying, okay, now I'm done, I'm moving on to the next portion of my day, we just kind of like let the workday like deflate, just kind of bleh. And that's not a great way to set yourself up for, first of all, it's not a great way to end your workday. And it's not a great way to set yourself up for recharging in the evening.
Well, quite frankly, the evening routine for me plays into the morning routine. My morning routine, when it's off and there is no routine and it's not effective, it's because the night before I did something that, went down a YouTube rabbit hole till 2 a.m. and now I'm getting up at 7 and trying to get going for the day and wondering why I can't. Not really wondering. I know darn well why I can't when I've gone down those YouTube rabbit holes. But nonetheless. So it's important. That's what we're saying.
It's there. Again, there will be times when you maybe have to do that, when you set yourself up for a little bit of trouble when you have to do it in one day, but you will live and learn, because you never want to have to deliver copy in one day. And believe me, I definitely have been the person who's like, I get 8 hours tomorrow. I'm going to write that sales page tomorrow. And that's a big project. And with big projects, you need to be able to sit down, work on it for a little while, get up, walk away, do something else, maybe do a different project or whatever. But, and I apologize if anybody can hear the landscapers outside. They timed this perfectly. Thanks, guys. Okay, we timed this inopportunely as well. It's just a beautiful kismet of sound. But as you're planning for your next day, that's a great point, is that your task might not be write sales page. It might be write the about me section of the sales page, or write the header section of the sales page. And you can also too, not just look at the next day, but kind of break out, on Monday night, you can kind of break out the rest of your week and say, okay, my goal is to write the header on Tuesday, or to write, whatever, the hero section on Tuesday, and then this coming up. But again, that nice thing about doing it at the end of the day is that you know what you actually accomplished that day, and you can amend any plans you have for the following day. And if you look at your schedule and you have a lot of meetings, or if you look at your schedule and you have, I don't know, life stuff, if you have doctor's appointments or you have to pick the kids up from school or whatever, you can plan your next day with what's actually happening in your next day in mind.
Yeah, and I like to look at the kind of the week ahead from that at the end of the day, pull up my calendar, and I'm pulling it up again. That reminder's in there to set my alarms. But then I look at my calendar and say, okay, here's what's coming up tomorrow, the meetings. What time do I need to block off in the next few days to get done what I didn't accomplish today? And so putting blocks on your calendar so that if a client asks, hey, can you meet this day, this time, or you're trying to book a discovery call or a kickoff or a creative review or whatever you need to book, you respect your blocks of time that you've blocked off for other things. And it helps you build in that padding in advance versus getting to a day and being like, I wish I'd built in that padding, because we all need that room to catch up and play catch up and be realistic with our timing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and when you don't build in that padding, that timing has to come from somewhere. I mean, that time has to come
Yes.
from somewhere. So where's it going to come from? It's going to come from your
Free
rest time,
time.
your
Yeah.
free time, exactly. Which then it becomes not so free at all.
Mm-mm.
Which actually kind of leads into the next point, which is something
Mm-hmm.
that both Kate and I need to get better at,
Mm-hmm.
working on it, is actually having
Having free time.
having free time. We definitely need to work on that. Yes, but also is actually having a shutdown time at
Yes.
the end of the workday, saying, okay, it's 5:30, or okay, it's 6 o'clock, or whatever your time
Whatever
is.
time is.
If you have a full time and you're doing some freelance stuff in the evening, maybe it's maybe it's 8 o'clock, or maybe you work from 8 to 9 or whatever. But having a prescribed time that you go, okay, done. I'm closing my computer. I'm not checking email anymore. I'm not responding to
Mm-hmm.
Slack. I'm not doing any of that kind of thing. Because it's very easy, and I will be the first person to tell you, it's very easy because you've got your phone and you get your alerts and you're making dinner and you're letting the water boil, and well, you know what, I'm just going to answer Slack because it's right here and then I don't have to deal with it tomorrow. But what that means is that you never actually decompress with work. You never actually disconnect. So you are still working and your brain is still processing all this stuff, and you're still responding to those alerts and the pings and the dings and the lights and all that stuff. You are never actually letting your brain check out, stop working, and get into your quote unquote free time. It's not actually free. You're still working all evening long.
Yeah, even if it's an easy, oh, I can shoot this email to a client. Every time you reopen the app, go into work mode, it's taking away. You're not letting yourself have blank space and letting your mind wind down. And I say that because I know that. And if you're thinking, well, Kate and Nikki, why don't you use the do not disturb feature on your phone? I do. I don't know if you do too. That doesn't prevent you from checking these apps still. I don't get my Slack notifications, but I still sometimes just then open the app, which is crazy. So what I've started doing is being very selective of what's on my phone. I took Facebook off my phone. That was one of the best decisions I've made. I don't need Facebook on my phone. I don't need to mindlessly scroll down Facebook lane every night. So that worked for me. If it's a different app for you that you feel like, let me try it, you can always get it back. You can always re-download from the cloud if you really want to, but try getting rid of notifications that you don't need first, and then potentially unloading some apps that aren't serving you in your off hours.
Mm-hmm.
Quite frankly, I mean, for me, I'm kind of working traditional hours now, a 9 to 5, and I sit down at my computer. I'm in my office space. I don't need my phone. I can pull up anything I need on the internet and on a browser. And so when I leave this laptop, I don't need to take it with me. And one of the ways to do that is to ensure my phone only has things that I feel like I absolutely need or want to have there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and for me, I definitely have that same issue because I have my phone with me all the time. And yes, I have do not disturb, but I find myself, flipping it on, flipping it off. And
Yes.
I love
Yes.
listening to podcasts as I'm making dinner in the evening. So the podcasts are on, but then the alerts are coming through. And yeah, I will definitely say that this is something that I personally need to be working on. And also the multi-screen thing. If I'm sitting down, have dinner, and then after dinner, maybe looking and seeing what's on, Netflix or any number of the
Mm-hmm.
subscription channels. Who does cable anymore? But then also, if I've got my computer, they're just flipping open my computer. Just, I'll just check my personal email. Well, if I'm in my personal email, I'll probably also then check my business email because the alerts are going to come up. And then if take a look through into Slack and then into our project management software Asana, and I think of things, and it's the creep is real. The work
Mm-hmm.
creep into the evening hours is real, and something that I am working on. That's a real cop out to say, isn't it? I'm working on it. It's been like I'm
What are you
trying.
doing?
Yeah, exactly. I'm clearly not trying as hard, or I'm not doing it. Okay, so I will make the commitment that I will not check anything work related after 7 p.m. in the evening. Oh, a little redundant there, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And weekend's going to be tricky. That's going to be
Mm,
real tricky for me because if I'm not like hanging out with friends, or it's just so
it's so
easy to
easy. I
get a
know.
little work in. Okay, so I need to pick time. And maybe it's I pick it out on Friday. Maybe that's one of my Friday closing out the week activities. I pick a time on the weekend, which sounds so crazy to be like, I pick a time when I can work. I happen to really love what I do, but I also know that both copywriting and running this business, but I also know that if I don't disconnect, I never actually
Burnout.
I never get that break. And then Monday starts and I feel like it's just been 60 days worth of
The hamster
Mondays.
wheel. Yes.
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to stop checking anything work related after 7 p.m. And on Fridays, I'm going to decide when and a limited amount of time I will work on the weekends. And maybe some weekends it's going to be a lot of work. Sometimes that happens. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
some weekends it'll be no work at all. But I will decide what amount that time that is on Friday. And so that I'm also not tempted on the weekends to go, well, let me just, because there's so many other things to do with our
Mm-hmm.
lives.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as I love copywriting, I know you love copywriting and we love what we do, it's so easy to burn out when you're working all the time.
Yes. I don't know if you felt this way, and I'm sure listeners, I'd be curious. Comment on our YouTube if you're watching it there and let us know your tips and tactics. 2020 really threw off, I think, lots of people's routines in so many ways. Forget morning and evening routine, just the whole life routine.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, for me, that resulted in, well, there's nothing else to do. I'm going to take on work because, to your point, I like it. It's fun. If I can't do anything else, might as well be productive. Um, I feel like there's a space, and my goal is to find space for unproductive times and being okay with being unproductive and feeling, just sitting and looking out a window for 10 minutes. But to that
Mm-hmm.
point, my goal, so as folks know, this is not my real living room. I'm in the process of moving. I've been staying with my parents for weeks now. And I finally, in the past week, said, nope, 6 p.m. is going to be my shut down the screen time. And I'm just realizing how much less I can do. But that's because 2020 set me up to think I can do so much because my hours weren't controlled. They were not set. It was kind of here and there and whenever I can, which was more often than I should be working. Any normal human should be working. So my goal is to keep that up when I transition out. It's easy when you have folks here being like, hey, we had cooked for dinner for you. Of course, I'm not going to say no. I know it's wonderful.
I love parents.
Yeah. But so the trick will be for me when the next couple of weeks when I'm not here to shut that laptop down and say, nope, this was your stop time, 6 p.m. Stop, stop, stop,
Mm-hmm.
stop. No matter where you are, and I think I got this from you, unloading anything on my brain that's still on my brain in my notebook, and I can reorganize that the next day. That might be my first task in the morning, to reorganize any brain dump notes.
Mm-hmm.
My other big thing for folks that are working full time, they might relate to this and are building their copywriting business part time, or frankly, are just working, building a part time copywriting business. My other goal is I've started blocking time on my calendar specifically for freelance work. When I came on staff with Nicki, I just kind of went willy nilly with the freelance. I unloaded a lot of clients, but just thought, okay, no, I have these, one or two, and it's fine. No, that's no way to run your business. And so I'm going to pick days that these are my freelance days. These are days I can take, meetings with clients at lunch if I really need to. I'm thinking Tuesdays, Thursdays for me. And then the rest of the time, not taking on freelance work. So making sure when I take it on, it's intentional. I'm not just taking it on to take it on, and it fits in those time slots. And if it doesn't fit in those time slots, then goodbye.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we'll see how that works.
Well, and I think something else to consider is how you are spending those evenings after you've shut down, after you've logged out of work, and how you're spending your weekends. I know that it's also 2020. It's something that came out of 2020, but just also being humans who love to be entertained. TV is such an easy go-to. I mean, there's never been more content available.
So much content.
Glorious. And really not just, but like I was saying, I love podcasts, and there's always new podcasts in my app. And clearly, if you're listening to this, you either love podcasts, or if you're watching this, you love videos as well. And there is definitely a place for all of that. But I've found that being a receiver for, because I don't, that's how I end up thinking about it, especially with TV, is I just kind of become a passive receiver. Mm-hmm. It doesn't give my brain a chance to relax. The way that my brain interacts with TV, and don't get me wrong, I am not about to give up my television. I need Ted Lasso on Friday nights. Sometimes I just want Ted Lasso, and sometimes I really need an episode of Ted Lasso. But it gets to a point where when you're watching one episode, and you're watching two episodes, and you're watching three, and I think we all know this feeling, your brain just kind of turns to mush, and you don't feel, especially like after a weekend of like watching TV and just sitting around and kind of doing nothing, you don't feel refreshed. It feels kind of like an extension of that burnout.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so easy. And, we all yell at Netflix when it's like, still watching? Yes, Netflix, I'm still watching.
Stop judging me!
I'm going to try to start listening to, there's a reason why Netflix asks. It knows me better than I know myself. You should really stop now, Kate.
Go for a walk, it should say. Kate.
Yeah. Go. Yeah. Walk the dog, Kate.
Walk the dog, Kate. Yeah. But it doesn't allow our brains that break. And it's funny because you would think, well, okay, if it's content, then books are the same way, or reading articles. And I don't find that to be the case. I find that books are very refreshing, and even articles can be very refreshing. Be careful if you're online, because it's easy to go down that rabbit hole of one article, like a BuzzFeed article, and then I'm going to do a quiz on BuzzFeed, and then it's that same kind of, I guess.
I'm going to Wikipedia. How old is George Clooney now? Wait, yes, but how old's Amal?
Oh, this is a great
things
question.
I don't need to know.
No, but that's exactly the case. Is it's maybe that's part of it too with TV, is just getting in and watching episode after episode after episode, and you're not even choosing anymore. You're kind of giving in to those base instincts, those base desires. And it's the same thing with the internet, or with social media, or any of those sites where it's like, well, yes, I'm going to do this quiz, and then I'm going to do this quiz because I need to know what Disney princess would be my perfect sidekick, and I also need to know if they can guess my age based on what I would have for breakfast. I'm not joking. I've done all these quizzes.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Which Taylor Swift album are you? I think I was Red.
Oh, hey, congratulations. Yeah, that's a solid one.
It was a good one.
Yeah. But so in your evenings, on your weekends, just be cognizant of what activities you're actually choosing to help yourself turn off, or not turn off, but to help yourself recharge. I have found that reading books, even if it's, on a tablet, whatever. Reading books is great. Um, Going for a walk and or working out, spending time with friends. Remember those friends?
For our families with children,
Yeah,
spending time with them.
Exactly. There's a brief window we could see them again, and maybe you can see some of them again now. But recharging with other people is a big, important thing too. Just a couple of weekends ago, I had a packed weekend of activities, and I thought, oh God, Monday I'm going to be so tired. And actually, it was a very productive Monday because my brain had been doing something different and something valuable, and gave my brain a chance to think about something else versus work and content and all of that kind of thing. Yes. So if you're looking for books to read, we certainly have a whole list of recommendations.
Yes.
And we can put those in the podcast notes.
Oh, yes. Yes.
We always
and I find, just as a bonus aside, all of them are quite good. We've both read, anything we recommend, we've actually read, or else we wouldn't recommend it. That said, I find nonfiction is just a great way to put me to sleep. Even if it's super interesting, it's a good nighttime read. I'll take some notes, and then I'm like, 5 pages, I'm starting to nod off.
Yeah,
nonfiction is really good for that. Yeah.
That's enough. Well, and actually that's a great point too, in terms of nodding off. If you have trouble, like powering down at the end of the night, maybe look into some of the, I was going to say, didn't you just start doing, was it
the Calm app? Yeah.
Calm app.
I love their sleep stories. They're very silly if you actually listen to them, but the tone and the cadence and the music and the, I don't think I've ever gotten through a full one before it actually genuinely puts me to sleep, which is, my husband goes down in 2 seconds. I'm the kid at the sleepover who was always up, all night because I couldn't fall asleep. So
yeah, well, it's weird sleeping in somebody else's house.
It is weird.
And sleeping bags aren't comfortable.
I was not a fan of sleepovers. So anyway.
No, and actually, you should mention it. There's another podcast that I will listen to periodically called "Nothing Much Happens," and it's
sounds glorious.
It's very delightful, and actually, I think the writers among us which is all of us, will really enjoy it because this woman writes and narrates. They're just pleasant little stories. They don't even really have a beginning or an end. Like, it'll be about
nothing really happens.
Exactly, like walking to town for a stroll on a summer night, and it's
how lovely,
very lovely. And she reads it through twice, so even if the first time you're paying attention, the second time you could just let it go. But so our point is, if you have trouble really at the end of the night powering down, there are so many different options. And yes, I realize that they happen to both be on the phone, and it may be that you need to have your phone in a separate bedroom or a separate room, as many people will recommend. I don't quite go that far myself. Plus, how am I supposed to wake up? My alarm's on my phone. But find what works for you to actually get yourself to the point where your brain can just relax and you can fall asleep. No more YouTube rabbit holes.
I just am amazed that people can keep up with the amount of content created on the internet. All the memes, all the videos. I feel like I watch this much of it, even going down my rabbit holes, and I don't know what people are talking about. But I'm okay with that. FOMO is real, which I understand. It's real. Be okay with FOMO.
Yeah.
Which is fear of missing out in case anyone
it's
not familiar.
Yes, exactly. Yes. No. Take a little bit of joy in missing out on the alerts on your computer. So there you have it. Some tips, some best practices. Quite frankly, as you've seen, a few things that Kate and I need to work on. We have got some goals. We have made some commitments. I have 2.5 hours, 4:30 Eastern time. I have 2.5 hours before I have to shut down my computer, and I'm going to do it. And on Friday, I'm going to decide exactly when on the weekend I will work, and it will not be all weekend.
I'm going to test this. I'll send her Slack messages, guys, and let you know if she responds.
Great!
Can she ignore me?
We'll have to see how this goes. Wish me luck, everybody. And we also wish you luck setting up similar parameters for yourselves. It is so important We need to take care of ourselves. We are the most important assets in our business, and we cannot afford to let ourselves burn out. So we strongly encourage you to, like we said before, and if you didn't check out that episode, check out the morning routines, but also put together a good evening and really weekend routine to make sure that you give yourself time to actually unwind. And with that, we'll catch you in the next episode. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you don't miss any tips, tools, or tactics for copywriters by clicking subscribe right now. And of course, you can always find us over at filthyricwriter.com. We'll see you next time.